have a Diet Coke I'm gonna be sipping on while we film this video. I feel like this video is so long overdue. This has been a concept in my head. Can you hear me? I can hear the bubbles. That's all I can hear right now. This has been a concept in my head for so long, and I don't know why I have yet to like film this. I think because it's been my job. I've kind of just been like putting it off. I don't really like want to talk more about it, but I do feel like it is such a cool option that nobody really talks about when you're like in the middle of trying to figure out work or want to experience something different or something a bit more short term, but where you can make money and travel, and it is a really good idea for those things. So let's just get right into it. If you are new here, hi, my name is Jill. I'm 23, currently living in Parker, Colorado for the summer. I work seasonally in hospitality, so that entails golf clubs, hotels, resort, anything seasonal. So it could be down south in Florida, it could be up north in New England, it could be out here in Colorado like I am now, it could be in Montana, it could be really anywhere. Quick little agenda for what we're gonna go over here. I'm gonna talk about what seasonal work in hospitality is, how to get jobs in this industry. We're gonna talk about pros and cons. And I have like a few other things I might throw in there. I will leave timestamps down below here in case you are wondering, but we're just gonna get right into it. If you are not new here, you are very familiar with this lifestyle. I have been vlogging me doing this for almost 3 full years now. This is my, Arizona, Florida, Rhode Island. This is almost my 3rd year of doing this. It's been about 2.5 years, so I've done this for almost 6 seasons now. So if you don't know what seasonal work is, or seasonal work in hospitality, basically it's you go into a workplace to assist the full-time staff that's already there during their busy season. I've mainly done it in food and beverage, so as servers, bartenders, food runners. You can do back of house in the kitchen, or if you don't do like food and beverage, places do hire for, especially hotels and resorts, front desk, the rooms department, housekeeping, all of that kind of is involved here. So that's kind of what I'm talking about when I talk about seasonal work in hospitality. It's the hospitality industry. You are serving people, you are taking care of people, and you are going to these places that need assistance for their busy season. Odds are most places don't have a large full-time year-round staff because it's just not needed. Like for example, I'm originally from Rhode Island, and a lot of places there only hire in the summertime because that's when people are needed. They'll have like their core group of full-time staff, but they don't really need too many people working. So then when it is busy, they have people come in, help out. This is similar to like a college summer job. So we're gonna get into that. I'm gonna talk about like just how I figured out what this is and just how to get jobs in this industry, and we're just gonna go step by step, getting right into it. So I just gave you kind of a quick backstory and rundown of me. I'm 23, I've been doing this for almost 3 years now, and I have gone all over the country. I'm originally from Rhode Island, but I've been to Arizona to do this. Currently I'm in Colorado. I've been to Florida twice for it, and I've done the seasonal work in Rhode Island. So a lot of states do this. I've met so many people in this industry who are also doing that, which is how we'll get into how I learned about this. For my first job, I was working at a hotel. It was a luxury hotel, and it was seasonal. It was in Rhode Island, and it was seasonal. They didn't need a large full-time staff. So what they did was they hire people who are on J1 visas, which is a student visa, primarily people who are on, it's called an H-2B work visa, and that is all people coming in from different countries to work for the season. I don't know if I'm the person to talk about those. I do know a lot about them, but I don't want to give any misinformation. There's a lot of people out there who do post about those kind of things, so if you are not from the US and want to get into the seasonal work in the US, I definitely recommend going to watch other people. But this is how I found out about seasonal work. Was I was working at a place where people from all over the world, and they worked seasonally in hospitality. So that's how I found out of the seasonal work. And so like, how do you even get a job in this? Like, what does this even mean? So this is not like a program, like a setup program at all. This is me just reaching out to different workplaces saying, do you hire seasonally? Do you have staff housing? Because we're gonna get into all that too, like the pros and cons of what comes with seasonal work. So this isn't a program for Americans. It's not like you're on, like you sign up to do this and then you're now going all over the country. That's not how this works. Basically, you get hired and you get just interview and get hired at a new place every 6 months. It's like a job interview every 6 months. It's not like you do it one time and then you're in this like program for good or something. Like, that's not how it works. Basically, you're just getting hired at a new place every 6 months. How to get a job in the first place, let's go over it. So what I do is call. The first time that you are going to do this, you are going to want to call basically any place in the states that you are interested in working. Now, take the season into account. Odds are, if it's summertime, you're going to be in a place that has winter. So that's Colorado, Arizona, New England. All those northern states have a summer season, so that's who you would call for that. If you are looking in the winter season, you would call like southern states. So you'd call like Florida, or you'd call a winter like ski resort or something that like specializes in that season. So like, for example, with New Englanders, or just anyone going to Florida really, they go down in the winter, so they avoid the winter, and then they go elsewhere in the summertime. So that's kind of how you want to like just start your search. I recommend personally looking into hotels and resorts. I think you make more money. It does give you more options for work too. That's why I'm saying that as well. It's really easy to get jobs in all different departments easily if you work in a hotel or resort, but if you were to work in like a country club, a golf club, a yacht club, smaller establishment, it's just less jobs available that aren't food and beverage. Everybody needs a server. Everybody needs someone on the line. Everybody needs that. They're always looking for that. They always need bartenders. So that's how you're gonna like start the search. You're gonna find a state within that season, then you're gonna call those places, or you're gonna send a resume in or something like that. Sometimes they'll have job postings on Indeed. You just wanna like find a phone number, an email, an HR, and call the place. That is how I would recommend getting into it. Now, if you do get a job interview, you're then going to want to tell them that you want to work seasonally. If they hire seasonally, like this is important to ask about. You need to ask if they hire seasonally. You need to ask about housing because you are not a local, so you would like staff housing if this is something the place does. Not every club, not every hotel does this type of thing, but you're gonna wanna ask about staff housing and the rent. So if you are new, staff housing, your work provides an apartment, a house, what have you, and you pay rent for it. They do provide minimal furniture, so usually you'll get like a bed. Depending on the place, you might get a dresser, maybe. You'll probably get some form of couch, some form of basic kitchen utensils, and that's pretty much it. If you watch my vlogs and you see all the things I have, my comforters, my nightstands, my lamps, my mirrors, that's all stuff I've purchased along the way. Now, so you're gonna wanna ask about staff housing because not every place also provides it to Americans. So that is important. If that's important to you, if you would rather sign an apartment lease and then have to pay thousands of dollars to break it, buy all the furniture, you can do that. But one of the pros of doing this is not having to do that. Quick recap, you're gonna ask if they do seasonal work. If you as an American can get hired seasonally, which you can, but like if you want the housing and all that involved, that's why you're just gonna ask that. They have staff housing, and if you can get staff housing, you're gonna ask about the rent. So the rent and utilities is usually included in the rent you pay. So if you pay $300 every 2 weeks, like they take it right out of your paycheck, that all goes to rent and utilities. Some places provide the Wi-Fi, some places don't. It just depends on the place. So you need to ask all those details. Also, I have to just throw this out there, the roommate housemate situation. So most places, based on my experience, I've worked at so many places now, every place is very similar with this. They all kind of operate the same way. So once you learn like two places, 3 places, it's generally the same everywhere you go. Usually you have a roommate. So usually if you're not in a relationship and you're not doing this with a partner or a friend, your odds are going to get paired up with a random roommate. If you want to pay like a lower rent, you will have to room with someone. However, if you do ask to live on your own, usually you have to pay double the rent. So it's as if 2 people were living in that room, but it's only you. So this is something to keep in mind because I have a lot of friends who will just live with a roommate. They'll just like go into it, or some prefer living on their own and they'll just pay double the rent. This is all kind of like plays into like what your goals are. If you want to make quick money, you can. Are you in your own room? Or is that all that money you're making going towards your own space? Or are you just in it to travel and you don't care about the money? Like, these are all things you have to think about as you're kind of like figuring out this like job and work. So now you got hired for a job. Now how do you move? How do you move seasons? How do you move on to the next place? I'm telling you right now, word of mouth and connections is going to be your most powerful friend, okay? This is going to be the thing that gets you through every single door. As soon as you get hired at a place where they hire like a lot of seasonal staff, you will talk to everybody about where, because most of the people there, a lot of them at least, have worked at other places before. So they have numbers, they have emails, they have connections to their like winter or summer establishment. Or you'll hear the places to go, you'll hear the places not to go, you'll hear about what the money's like in other places, the housing, the management, the coworkers. You're gonna learn all of it once you meet people at that first job. So the first job, it might not be the most fun or the prettiest, but as soon as you like step foot in that door, you are gonna have amazing conversations with so many people. A lot of the clubs and hotels kind of have like good relationships with the other hotels and clubs, and they, like if you speak to your HR, they could know people in other places and recommend you interview there. So it really, as soon as you like walk into that first place, it's pretty easy to figure out where you're gonna go next. You have options. I think we covered everything. Like, it's pretty straightforward. It's not difficult. Even if you don't have experience, like it's all pretty much like entry-level jobs and positions that they hire for, so you'll just learn as you go. It's not as if you need like this crazy background or degree, or you don't need anything. You don't need anything. You could have no experience in this hospitality industry. You will learn it and you will get your experience and you will meet all the people who will teach you things. Like, it's really straightforward, which it sounds like too easy. Now let's get into pros, cons. Also, I'm just giving you the basics. You're gonna learn a lot more of like the detailed pros and cons while you're experiencing it for yourself, and everybody has different ones because your experience will be personal to you, and like what I've gone through or learned might not be the same as what you're gonna go through and learn. So I'm just kind of sharing like the basics on it. Pros: staff housing. Staff housing is such a pro because you don't have to worry about finding an apartment, about paying this like obnoxious rent when you get somewhere. Usually the rent is pretty affordable. The most I've had to pay weekly is $175, I think, or $200 per week. That's like the most I've had to pay. The least I've had to pay is $100 per week, so that's $400 per month. Mind you, you are living with other people, so technically it's as if you like just found an apartment somewhere and like had 3 roommates or housemates, and then you all split the rent. Like, that's pretty much what it is. You don't have to worry about like finding a place. You don't have to worry about furniture unless you want specific things, then you have to worry about that yourself. But if you really are okay with just the basics, the bare minimum, you're just doing this to make money and for the experience, you are pretty much set. It's so nice not having to buy furniture or kitchen utensils or whatever. You can if you would like, but you don't really like have to. You can go all over this country. Guys, I know people who have gone to pretty much every single state in this country to do this kind of work. This work is everywhere. You just have to start talking to people once you get into your first job. From Nantucket to Martha's Vineyard to anywhere in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New York, North Dakota, Florida, New Jersey, Maryland, and that's just the East Coast. And then you move over to the West Coast, you have Arizona, you have Colorado, you have Montana, Wyoming. I've met someone who has worked, I think, pretty much in every state. The only states that I haven't like heard about this kind of thing is like those like middle states, like Kansas and Tennessee, and a lot of like those middle states. I don't know what that's like there. I've only met people really who are on like the East Coast and some out west like a little bit when I'm out here, but you get to travel everywhere. You're doing it for way cheaper. It's not like you're spending money on hotels and all that. And if you're in a good location, you can also travel all around that area. So you're also making money. Like, yes, you're working and maybe it's not your dream job and maybe it's not something that you like love so much, but you're working and making money while trying to travel if that's something important to you. You also can earn money and save money really quick if that's your goal, because again, you have that cheaper rent, you have a lot of that cheaper like lifestyle, and depending on where you work, you can make money really fast. I really do recommend working in hotels and resorts. I think that's the most money I've ever made working in this industry, but there are a few clubs where you can make good money. You just have to find those clubs. That is harder because clubs tend to pay just an hourly, and unless you're working so much overtime, then it's good. But like, that's not always gonna happen. So really trial and error, and you just have to figure out what works for you. You're gonna fuck it up. Like, you're gonna mess it up at some point. It's not always gonna be the best situation, but sometimes it's gonna be an amazing situation, and it's gonna work out really well. And you're kind of like on cloud nine, like just enjoying yourself. Meeting new people from all different states, first of all, because you're working in the US, but also from all over the world, because like I said, people from all over the world are coming to the US to do, because it's so cool, and it just opens you up to so much more. And even just within the US itself, you meet so many people from so many different states. That is such a huge pro. That is probably the biggest pro I've had on this whole journey I've had, is all the wonderful people I've met. I've gotten so lucky to have met so many great people, and odds are you're gonna meet such great people too. And the thing is, everybody is coming and living the same way. Like, unless they're like that full-time staff that's already there and like live locally, a lot of the people are going through the same thing you're going through. They're only here for the season. They're away from friends. They're away from family. Another pro is you get really good at quick learning. You have to. It's kind of like you don't have another choice. It's like, it's not like you're in a job for 2 years to 6-10 years. Like, you are learning a new job every 6 months, and you quickly learn too that a lot of the jobs you are doing in this industry specifically, I'm not talking about other industries, but a lot of jobs in this industry translate to pretty much every workplace. You just have to learn the systems of that workplace when you go to a new workplace, different specific things to that place. But generally speaking, hospitality, the skills you learn translate to other places and other jobs, because you're working with people. Like, that's really it. And then the skills that you do learn, if you're serving, if you're bartending, if you're working in housekeeping, like, most places do similar things. You just have to learn like the little differences that the different places do. And then the last pro I just wanted to mention is just your connections. You build so many connections within the workplace, like I said, and that could be from your management team, from your coworkers around you, and also from the guest experience side. So if you're working in a club, it would be the members. If you're in a hotel, it would be the guests. The thing about hospitality is you're always talking all the time. And sometimes it's draining, but you learn so many things. You meet so many people who are working, like, especially if you're talking to like members or guests, odds are they're not working in the hospitality industry. They just have enough money to go to these places that you're working at, because usually a lot of times, if you, especially in clubs, you're working for people who are incredibly wealthy. So you learn so much, and those connections that you build, a lot of them want to keep in touch with you on both ends. Like I said, your coworkers or the guests or members. People want to help people. That's the thing. Like, I feel like in us, instinctually, everybody kind of wants to help each other somehow, and a lot of like the members or guests will want to help you along your next journey or stay in touch. Or it's so important. Like, pro tip, never leave a job on a bad note, because you never know down the line. Having these people, like having connections to these people, is so helpful. And I'm not saying like you want to like use them or anything, but it's so nice to know that like people want to help you and that you want to help other people. Like, it's just such a, the people is the biggest pro of this whole thing. It's like, whether they become friends, whether you gain connections and you end up in new industries or jobs because of the people you met, like, it's so valuable. Okay, moving on to cons. I can't say the pros without the cons. So you meet people that you end up caring about or you get close to, and you have to leave. You get really good at saying goodbye. If community is important to you and your friends and family, you're gonna be away from them. You are all over the country. That's kind of the point, is the traveling aspect of it, and like moving around so much. That can be hard, because as much as like you want to and you're excited for it, it can be really lonely sometimes, because those, like, that foundation of you and the people you know are always there for you and that you care about, they're not with you along this like experience. So it can feel really lonely sometimes. Another con, just having to like learn a new job every 6 months. It can be so annoying to have to like always be the new person, to like walk into a place. You have to meet all these new people, you have to learn all these new things, and it's not hard. As I said earlier, like, a lot of the skills you learn and the experience you have can translate to the next place, but sometimes you just want to like not have to think about it, you know? Sometimes you just like want to just know what's going on at all times. And like I said, you learn quick, but sometimes it's just like, oh, I have to do this again. Another thing is like living with people. If you don't live with people you know or friends, it's a gamble. Like, you're either gonna end up with great housemates or you're gonna end up with really shitty ones, and it's just the truth. You might not like their cleaning habits, you might not like their schedules always aligned with yours, and you have to see people in your space all the time. Like, living with people, it can be such a con. It is a pro if you meet friends along the way and you decide to do like the seasonal work together, because then you kind of like can request to like live with certain people. That's what we've done. I think we've only lived with random people one time in Arizona, and thankfully it worked out, but everywhere else we've gone, we've known people working there and we've asked to live with them, so it wasn't like a risk. That can be a con for sure. It's a pro sometimes. It is a pro when it's like people you end up enjoying their company, because there's like, you have this like little built-in community. It could be a gamble. Moving a lot. It's not even like the travel aspect that's annoying, it's the packing. Always packing, always having to move your shit from one place to another. That can be so tiring, and part of wanting to do this is the money and the travel, but it can be so exhausting. That's why I always say, like, I try to downsize as much as I can. This is why I don't have a lot of stuff right now, because this is probably the least amount of stuff I've had while doing this little journey of mine, because it's just so annoying to have to pack it all, move it across the country, and then unpack it all, because you accumulate a lot of stuff over the years if you're not like careful. No insurance. You are not a full-time worker, and unfortunately a lot of these places give you insurance because you're not a full-time employee. You're just a seasonal part-time hire. So that can be really difficult. Just the paying out of pocket is like really frustrating sometimes, because it is expensive. Like, if you need something done, you do, like, just the first initial few weeks, you do have to kind of spend a good amount of money getting like set up sometimes, unless you're like really, if you budget like really well, but like, you need all the basics in the space. Like, you have to take an inventory of what's in the apartment when you get there. Sometimes they might not provide enough pans or enough plates or enough silverware, or then you need to get groceries, and you need the paper towels and the toilet paper and the whatever else. Some places, they don't provide a comforter and you have to buy your own. Like, the initial setup can be a little pricey depending on where you go, because not every place does it the same. Like I said, it's all independent workplaces. It's not like you're on a program and they're required to give you specific things, this amount, every single place you go. It's all different workplaces doing this thing. Okay, last two, you meet a lot of people and it can be such a pro, but you don't always like them. I've met a lot of shitty people in my time in this industry. A lot of not nice, selfish on all ends, on the coworker side, on the member guest side, and you're always interacting, and it can be exhausting, especially if you don't get along. Like I said, one of the biggest pros is the people. Also, like, the more you like have to move around into new workplaces, the higher chance of meeting shitty people, but also the higher chance of meeting great people. So it's like, it's a give and take, you know? And then the final thing, which is always what like gets me and why I'm always so tired at the end of every season, is there's no slow season. The point of doing this is you go and help all these places where they are busy and need people that season. So you don't have downtime. It's not like the winter comes along and you get to just like work a little less because you just had this really busy summer, you know? Like, no, it's like if the winter comes, you go to whatever winter place and you work the busy season. So you don't really get much rest. Okay, I think that covers all the basics. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I will definitely respond in the comments. I don't know if I covered everything. I did try my best. This experience is coming to an end for me at this point. It's just time for me to be done and be in one place consistently. But there really are so many pros with this, and it has been so fun. And the people in my life that I know now, most of them are that I've met over the past few years by doing this. It has been so fun to travel and to be in new places and to pay off debt that I had before I started this. I paid off a lot of debt. I'm still paying it off, but that was such a huge pro as well. Yeah, I've met such wonderful people, and that really like what sticks out to me. So if you are about to try this, good luck. But yeah, I feel like this is really fitting to like end my time doing this, was to share my knowledge and to help people who would like to do this going forward. So with that being said, I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. I hope you are ready for the moving vlogs to start, because that's what's next after this, is me moving somewhere full-time and being somewhere consistently and just ending my seasonal life. So yeah, I will see you guys all in the moving vlogs. Like I said, if you have any questions, leave them down below. See you in the next video. Bye.